All right, so I was originally in this video just gonna give you guys an update and some quality of life features on the REP Pepin, some things I discovered alongside with their REP Fitness dumbbell storage cart. But then I thought it kind of makes sense. I know you guys like this, especially if you're kind of considering one system versus another, or if you guys are just fans of one or the other, definitely drop your comments down below. I know you guys have your opinions about this. I thought it made sense to actually talk about the Ironmaster Dumbbell Pro Stand that they put out, which is actually more money than this REP Fitness cart. I'll flash these two prices here on the screen so you guys can see that right up front. And arguably, I can see some of you guys, and I would say, yeah, you don't necessarily need these things, but they are definitely quality of life features to help make using these dumbbells all the more practical and user-friendly, especially I'd say with the Ironmasters, because just organization and things can kind of get messy, especially if you're looking at a set that's totally decked out like mine. So definitely having a storage cart kind of makes sense. I will of course compare these two and go over the general specs. I'll talk about the usability features and go over the general pros and cons. If you guys like this, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will link both these products down below, help support me in the channel and keep reviews like this going. I'll talk about the REP Pepin storage cart first and show you guys a quality of life feature, but as I'm kind of wheeling this thing out of the way, I thought I'd show you guys in real time. Just might not matter to you, but I actually do like carts because I'm always wheeling things in and out. This one, the Ironmaster, a little bit heavier to wheel around. That has two locks on each wheel. Both of them of these carts have caster wheels, so they're heavy duty. This one has a very impressive spin. It spins very easily. I do want to share with you guys one quality of life feature that I discovered in this. I'm sure not the only one who really noticed this, but I have to talk about it because this was an issue people brought up, myself included, with the rails. Things such as, say, RDLs. If you go ahead and do something like this, you can't get as tight to your body compared to the Ironmasters. Then I discovered one day, as I was actually doing kind of lateral crunches, you have the same kind of issue. If I just kind of flick these down a little bit, just like that, I get a lot more clearance, and it totally takes that issue out of the equation. And like I said, I discovered this doing just lateral crunches. It's one of the exercise I just like to do. I feel like it always just feels good in my back. I got a lot more clearance here. This issue that was there before is now totally gone. And I will just give you guys a brief update. The pop pin issue for me, I said this in the last one, has become less and less of an issue. And on this topic, since I got some wrist wraps and things on here, people said you can't really make room for wrist wraps. Something that I have noticed is that if you're probably going to use wrist wraps, you're probably going to use it for heavier weight. And if you got the pop pins off to the side, the wrist wraps you can still pretty much use if you don't have a pop pin on the side. And that includes things such as, say, like VersaGrip wraps, which I got over here. So, all right, now to get into the specifics and specs about this REP Fitness dumbbell storage cart, I do want to notice I'm sitting on the Ironmaster Super Bench Pro. I still think this is the best bench, at least for me. So I just want to point that out there, that I'm a fan of just incorporating all the systems here, whichever makes sense to you the most. And that goes actually with picking up this dumbbell storage cart. So initially, I actually bought I pre-ordered the smaller REP Fitness one. I'll throw that on the screen. This came out prior to that. It was not going to come out for another month and a half or so. And honestly, first thought was I just need a stand. And then I really started thinking about it more. And I'm like, I actually prefer dumbbell carts for a number of reasons. You can store different things. I get knickknacks all over the gym. And I just think I preferred this more so than the other one as far as how I would use it and stored. And I thought I'd share it with you guys. So I went ahead and actually picked up this one, which I do think, in my opinion, is going to fit me and maybe for most people. I know some people say you don't use the wheels. I use wheels and the wheeling function all the time, just by nature of the channel, what I'm doing here. But even for my setup, I definitely prefer having something on wheels and not having it on wheels. I do also want to add up front, and I might remind you guys about this towards the end in case people are skipping around, but you can incorporate and use the Ironmaster Adjustable Dumbbells with this cart. There's some reviews on their website that show that. If I didn't have these stands bolted in, I would actually go ahead and do that, but I'm sure it will work just fine. You get plenty of room here. Probably not as accessible as having the open area of the Ironmaster Pro Stand, but you definitely can do that if you so choose, and this is actually cheaper than picking up the Ironmaster cart as well. I know you guys, and just on the topic of cost, both these things are fairly expensive. Yes, you can DIY something. I almost kind of considered that, but at the end of the day, I just didn't have time for that. But I did go in one video invest in like a budget cart in Home Depot that was highly rated, and it broke on me very quickly. So take it for every will. I'm sure there's cheaper carts out there and you can DIY stuff. Hopefully that's fairly obvious to many of you guys. Now, some of the general specs about this: it is 32 inches wide, about 23.3 inches in depth, 20.75 inches in height. Weight capacity is 50 pounds. The weight itself of the bench is 94 pounds. It is constructed from steel and chrome rubber liners on the shells on each side to protect the finish and minimize the noise. And you got 3 different colors here, the matte black, the white, and the metallic black. Other features here is that you have the pegboard storage option. These are add-ons from Rep Fitness, but you can find these pretty much anywhere. These little pegboards, I got stuff lining my garage actually over there. I kind of will decide later on what I'm going to use. I got tons of storage options around me, but I do like things having a spot for each thing, and some things like to kind of roll off. So I found actually these resistance band handles fit nicely. I got 1 on each side. And right now I'm just throwing some bands, some random stuff on here. I'll figure out later what I'm going to go ahead and use. Put things like wraps. I just use the other wrap here a second. I'm not sure where I put that, but wraps, go-to handles that I use a lot. These are things that I could store over there. Everyone's a little different though. Under the carriage here in this underbelly, again, whatever your imagination wants to throw at you, perfect spot for a kettlebell. Yes, I mentioned in a previous video that kettlebells are not something I really feel like I've been using that much, but you will see some future videos. This Bell's a steel adjustable kettlebell that I'll feature later. I'll review some pros and cons about that. I've actually found that this is a good spot for my Ironmaster Super Bench seat. Just throwing it under there. I just did the weight belt under there, honestly, for aesthetics, but I can see my Super Bench seat going there. As of right now, thing I threw in here, I've got 2 of these. I reviewed this in a past video. My favorite little abdominal tool as of right now. This glute ham abdominal roller thing. I'll link this down below if you guys are curious. This is great. It's always in the ground, so this helps me avoid one of many tripping hazards in here, so I'll probably leave that right there. It's something I go to a lot. Other thing is, as you guys can see, these adder plates for the Rep Pepins, they have a nice little insert slot here that they're gonna, I'm assuming, making, as other people have said, that you're gonna maybe add some other increments in there. I don't know if I really need more than the 2.5 pounds, but if you really want to do that, you can. So maybe overkill in all the slots. This might be kind of an eyesore for some people if you're gonna get this without the REP Pepin dumbbell set, but there are pictures where people put other little add-on plates in those slots, so you can put whatever you want, I guess, in there, but it's definitely nice to have this little storage area. Another big quality of life feature, which is great with this dumbbell stand, is that the REP Pepin cradle can now be bolted into the actual stand, and that takes away the issue I had before when I had this thing set at 120, 125. The kind of cradle would get stuck a little bit. Now you could definitely fine-tune that, but I'm having, you know, 0 issues with that. Now a con for some people is that the height of this cart cannot be adjusted. It is at 20.75 inches, and I am 6 foot for reference. As of right now, I don't find or haven't found any issue with it, but I could see if you had that option to kind of dial in the right height for your preference, that would be beneficial. Another thing that is good, or something I've found, and definitely it's necessary for something like this, is that you don't want these things on an angle with these dumbbells so the weights don't kind of catch or just kind of get snug against each other. You're gonna want a kind of a nice flat surface so you can reach in, grab it, and then when you're done, whatever doing a set, you go right on top. Notice I got clearance to kind of not buckle the weight or kind of go over. That depends on your height though, but for me I can walk right in, avoid the clipping the bottom weights. You could lift up though, and I like being able to look straight down to avoid that issue of the weights getting stuck or kind of just damaging the weights as well. But so far I've been using this a lot and it's been having 0 issues, just overall basic functionality of taking the weights off and setting them down. And I'm gonna make room. Okay, rolling that thing out of there, I'm gonna make room for the big bad beast over here. And I say that because this one's got more weight on it, so that probably wasn't fair in the beginning when I started spinning and showing how easy that thing was to spin around. Now, I've covered this in a little more length, but let me just go over some specs, comparing this also to the Rep Fitness cart. All right, the dimensions here, you got 24 inches in width, 24 inches in depth, and then what's good about this one is you can actually adjust the height from 26, 27 to 28 inches. I believe this is set at 28 inches, which was the highest setting. Weight capacity is 100 pounds heavier. You can hold 600 pounds on this versus the 500 pounds on the Rep Pepins. This thing weighs 75 versus the Rep Fitness dumbbell cart weighed 94 pounds. Ironmaster does make a smaller cart, but I'd recommend, especially if you're gonna start upgrading with more stuff, more weights, and I think it's just good to have more surface area. In fact, there are some times where I actually want more area to kind of work with here. And while people have said many times, and I've said this too, at the end of the day, this is not it's not that slow. You can certainly quick change weights in and out fairly quickly or relatively quickly. But downside is this thing can get messy really fast, especially if you want to kind of go to somewhat of a fast click. So it's nice to have a nice big surface area here. How I do it, I have all their 5-pound plates, usually in 2 columns here, and then I put the 4 of the 2.5 pounds that comes with their set over on the outside, so I know where all those are located. And then all my, well, you get your kettlebell handle down here if you got so choose. It's nice to have this kind of open access area again, because you kind of want that to go ahead and reach for these things. And then I got 8 of the big boys down here, these big blocks that are 22.5 pounds. And that I've said before, I'll say it many times, that is really the biggest downside of this system. If you're jumping from 20 pounds with heavy handle kit, you know, up to 55, 60, not a big deal. It's when you start going and you got to grab these chunky things, put those in there for things, say in excess of 75, and you want to go back down to 30. That's where it kind of takes a little bit of time. If you guys buy the upgraded handle kits, you're going to have a few different sizes of the quick lock screws here. So 3 different sizes, so you need that room for that. You got 4 holes here. The one downside that I have found, this happens a lot, I'll see if I can do it in camera, is these little plastic holes like to, of course it probably won't do it now, these like to kind of pop out. And if I'm going ahead to swap out of weight, see, there you go, that's what I was talking about right there. Then as we're wrapping up, I didn't mention this, but you could also use this cradle for the new Dumbbells, the ones that go to 100. They look like they would fit on this REP Pepin stand as well. But if I'm going to be comparing these two at the end of the day, which one's better? Of course, it's going to matter at the end of the day which dumbbell system or setup you're going to go with. I do think it's nice. This one's a little more versatile, a little more cheaper as far as what you can do as attachment sites and things like that. And you could use the Ironmaster setup on here. So as far as the one that gets best dumbbell stand, it would be this one, because you can interchangeably use it for a lot of different things. This one, of course, you could use the REP Pepins on something like this, but I think if you're going to use that thing with the cradle, which is kind of an inherent downside with this dumbbell, I think you're going to want something such as one of the REP Fitness stands or some other stand that you can actually bolt down the stand to. So I think that's definitely something that's kind of necessary with that. So overall, I'd say this one is a little bit more kind of free and open to however you want to choose and use it. Granted, again, you got these little slots here that go with the REP Pepins, could be an eyesore. This one is more a necessary function, and by that I mean this one, the dumbbell, it's not kind of fair comparison, but this being adjustable, all the weight's kind of integrated. This isn't, you know, there's no mess kind of happening up here. For the Ironmaster, I would say something like this, couldn't be this stand or a different stand, is kind of necessary. You can certainly do this stuff on the ground, of course, but when I start interchanging and locking weights and messing with stuff, a cart like this, in my opinion, is totally necessary to just kind of increase the quality of life features and make this thing a little bit less cumbersome or a little bit less slow than if I was not using a dumbbell stand of some sort. So hopefully that's helpful, and just kind of comparing the, not just the stands to each other, but just the overall experience about using, say, these REP Pepins to these Ironmaster dumbbells. Just sharing you guys my thoughts and opinions. Definitely share yours down below if I missed something, or if there's something else you guys want to add. Help support me and just everyone else by leaving that comment down below. As always, too, links to both these products, everything Ironmaster. I got some other Ironmaster stuff coming in the near future, so stay tuned for that. But links to all this stuff down below in the description box, and I'll see you guys on the next one.